We're going to go over the stereo bass cabinet. First thing that I want to point out is, unlike the stereo guitar cabinet, you don't have an air parameter. But like the stereo guitar cabinet, all this is doing is essentially applying some strange EQ curve to mimic the response of the speaker. I want to talk about that for a second. I was in a discussion with my friend, and we were talking about cabinet modeling, and he said that there must be more to it other than just applying an EQ curve. But if you think about it, that's exactly how you would model a speaker in its entirety. So let's say that you have a subwoofer, and I want to make a sound like it's coming out of a subwoofer. All I would do is low pass that sound. Similarly, if I wanted a source to sound like it was coming through an iPhone speaker, I would high pass the sound and low pass it slightly and boost it maybe around 4K. In other words, the EQ curve is making a sound like it's coming out of a certain kind of source. But it goes further. Where a cabinet is subject to the laws of physics, even those physics can be modeled by an EQ curve. Let's take transient response, for instance, a burst of high frequency content. That initial click of a transient can be enhanced or attenuated with a simple high shelf EQ. Also, if you think about formants in a cabinet, those can be mimicked with parametric EQ. So the entirety of a speaker and speaker cabinet are completely fashioned by just some kind of strange EQ curve, even if it's not an EQ that is making a sound the way it does while it's coming through a speaker. Nonetheless, those physical restraints that are on a speaker, for instance, a large diaphragm speaker cone not being able to move all that mass to create high frequency content or high frequency information, or similarly a small speaker being too small to create enough sound pressure level to hear low frequencies. It's not that the small speaker can't produce low frequencies or has a pre-high pass filter. It's that that speaker is too small to move enough air for you to be able to hear that low frequency content. So let's go over some of these EQ curves that are found here. We can expect them to behave in predictable ways, depending on what kind of a setup it has. So this is a 4x10 setup. In other words, we have 4 10-inch speakers. So that's a lot of air that can move. But it's kind of like one giant speaker. You can almost think about it as like a 40-inch speaker. So let's hear what that sounds like. This is just noise, and predictably, this 40-inch speaker, if you want to think of it like that, is not able to reproduce a lot of high end. But we do have different flavors of these 40 inches that are very difficult to hear, and I would urge you to explore them on your own, but you can hear slight changes. For instance, this one's metallic. Gives us a bit more high end. Classic 8x10, even less on the high end. But remember, these are mimicking real cabinets. And those real cabinets might have real strong formants or resonant spots. Going down the list, I like the 1x15. I think this is one 15-inch speaker. Well, I mean, that's exactly what it is. I like the flavors of these. These are very nice. 2x15, again, losing some of these high ends. Ooh, but this one's getting a major boost, but it's getting cut off very sharply. 4x15. 18. That's the end. So there's kind of a general trend as far as the setup goes and the kind of response you can expect. I think that's enough exposition and enough examples to give you an idea of what the stereo bass cabinet is all about. Next time we'll look at some of the other bass distortion units, and I'll see you in those videos.